all kinds of opinions out there. Roxanne, appreciate it. Thank you. And let's bring in Steve Gordon. He is an entertainment attorney and former director of business affairs at Sony Music. Steve, good to have you on the program. I'm wondering, can we take this back in time about a week or so? And what kind of guidance after the hack attack do you think, I'm really curious about this, the attorneys for Sony would have been giving to the leadership of the pictures division as to what to do about this situation?
It's about risk and about measuring the risk, and then the executives decide how much risk they want to take on.
Yeah.
So here's the risk, and God forbid anything should happen. But if there is an attack on a theater and somebody gets hurt and there's damage to the theater, then the lawyers for Sony have to think about a possible lawsuit against Sony for the damages and for the loss of life or injury.
Right.
And this calls into play a legal issue called negligence, which is a kind of tort in the law. And it's not a simple matter at all. The plaintiff would have to show that Sony was negligent, and it would have to prove, but for Sony's release of the movie, that the act of terrorism wouldn't have happened and that it was reasonably foreseeable. Now, of course, these are legal terms of art.
Yes.
That good lawyers can argue forever. And in this case, it would probably last for years until you got a judicial decision and then an appeal after that. Now, my reasonable belief is that Sony would not be found liable at the end of the day because the causal connection is too tenuous between the release of the movie and the act of terrorism. However, you have years of litigation.
But the end of the day could be years down the road.
And that would be legal fees.
And that would be legal fees, which Sony would not necessarily want to incur.
Not necessarily, no one would want to incur, because it would be millions of dollars. And that gets you into the area of insurance.
Yes, let's talk about that.
Okay, general liability insurance would cover trips and falls and accidents and accidental death and damage to property. It would not cover incidents of war or terrorism. You would have to get, and we don't know,
special terrorism insurance, you were telling me.
That's exactly right. And it would be an additional premium on your insurance. Now, after 9/11, George Bush signed into law something called the Terrorism Risk Insurance Act.
Right.
And what this did is to subsidize insurance companies. Now, 9/11 resulted in tens of billions of dollars of damages.
Yeah.
Insurance companies didn't want to take on that risk. So the federal government, under this act, would subsidize them, would reimburse them if the amount of damages went over a certain amount. It depends on a ratio, it's a complicated formula, but the bottom line is this, that insurance for terrorism is affordable for companies like Sony. So the question is, did Sony get this kind of insurance? You know, an ironic thing is maybe we know if the hackers released that insurance policy. I haven't read it.
Right.
So maybe somebody out there has, so I don't know.
Steve, so those are two issues, and Steve, appreciate it. We ran out of time, but that was terrific.
All right.
I mean, this is an important one for us. Steve Gordon, he is an entertainment attorney and former director of business affairs for Sony Music with us. On Wall Street today,